to focus on physical wellness. And I got my PhD. My dissertation was looking at early mobility in mechanically ventilated patients. And anyone that has gone through a doctoral program will tell you it's a labor of love. And this was an 8-year labor event for me. But I learned quite a bit, to say the very least. And so tonight, what I'm going to do is just share a little bit of my knowledge of physical activity and physical wellness. And I'd like to also just try to marry that with what I've also learned over the last 3 weeks, being a part of the Daniel fast. So, and I'm going to put some pressure on my other colleague, Jackie, that's on the line, because we started the Daniel fast on February 7th. I wasn't able to do it in January, but I said I was going to do it in February. And I've been hitting it hard and fast, so much so that this week I'm on call. And lo and behold, yesterday we started a Joint Commission visit. If there's any nurses out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about, how stressful that is. And so I decided to stay on the Daniel fast. So I am still on the Daniel fast. I was supposed to end yesterday morning, and I decided to just stay on it, primarily, one, to continue this reconnection I have with God, but secondly, over the last 3 weeks, I just feel like I've been able to decrease my stress level while on this fast and to focus and really reconnect. And so I knew I would really need that this week. So I decided to just stay on it. So we'll see. I know I'm staying on it until Friday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll see if I stay on it even longer than that, because it truly has, it's not just been about the diet change. It's truly been an overall change for me. But without further ado, what I would like to do is talk a little bit about some things I've noticed in the Bible, share some verses with you, and then also marry that with the physical wellness. So if you get a chance, please go and look in Proverbs. What I found in Proverbs is a number of references that relate to wellness, specifically Proverbs chapter 4, verse 20 and 22. I was using the New Living Translation, where it says, "Listen, son of mine, to what I say. Listen carefully. Keep these thoughts ever in mind. Let them penetrate deep within your heart, for they will mean real life for you and radiant health." And in that verse, I really was looking at the mind and body connection. But if you further go into Proverbs and really pick at chapter 17, it goes into many other verses, such as verse 9. Love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends. It goes on into verse 14. Starting a quarrel is like opening a floodgate, so stop before a dispute breaks out. And then verse 22 is a great one for heart nurses. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit snaps a person's strength. So that is a great segue for me to talk about strength and talk about physical wellness. And I want to start off talking a little bit about some of the research that's out there, but I won't go too research heavy into this, but just so that you know that there is a lot of backing when it comes to physical wellness and things that you can do to take care of yourself. Specifically, physical activity is both a preventative measure and a curative measure for non-communicable diseases. And physical activity, we know, improves mental health. It can improve your quality of life and your overall well-being. The opposite is also true. Physical inactivity, so not moving around a whole lot and sitting around a great deal, those have negative impacts to people, but it also has negative impacts to our society. And we've seen that with regard to the increase in our obesity population. So some of the stuff that I wanted to just leave you with, again, some of the research out there talks about the implications of regular exercise for disease prevention and for treatment. And it talks about how people who are living a heart healthy life through exercise, they decrease their chance of having a stroke. That the number of steps that you take in your physical activity, so if you get a certain number of steps, that decreases your chance of having a stroke. We know that physical inactivity reduces the cardiopulmonary capacity, and it promotes physical, what we call deconditioning. So just feeling weak and not really stretching and all of that stuff, which also will lead to things such as obesity. It leads to a lot of metabolic problems. Neva talked a little bit about diabetes and also osteoporosis, which we don't think about osteoporosis when we're young because we're too busy moving and shaking and dancing. But when we get older, we don't quite shake as much. You don't see many of us out there twerking right now. And so physical activity really plays a role also in your mental wellness. And the more physical activity you have, the greater your positive psychological responses will be. So it has a great impact if you have regular exercise. It has a great impact on depression. It has a great impact on decreasing anxiety and decreasing stress overall as well. And we know when we decrease our stress, we also will improve our overall well-being, but we also improve our sleeping. And so if you think back just to your own self and you think about some stresses you may have had in life, how that has impacted your sleeping. And I've noticed for myself, the more stress I'm under, the less sleep or the more tired I feel when I wake up the next morning. But every time, without fail, if I do some type of exercise during the daytime, I fall asleep like a baby. But not only do I fall asleep easy, but I also sleep well. And by well, I'm talking about some of the sleep patterns and the different sleep levels that we go through when we are asleep. And it kind of basically releases our body. It really has an amazing effect on our metabolic system when we really go into a great sleep, be it a light sleep or what we call REM sleep, where we do our dreaming and stuff like that. So physical activity just impacts so many different parts of our holistic well-being. So physical, of course, the mental piece and the spiritual piece. So this is something you can easily look up. If you go to the American Heart Association, it's actually www.heart.org. You can go on there and find a plethora of information regarding living a heart-healthy lifestyle. But one of the things that American Heart talks about is how much physical activity do you need? And so the recommendations from the American Heart Association talks about getting at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic activity. Now, when they say moderate intensity aerobic activity can be anything from briskly walking to actual aerobic exercises on the treadmill, elliptical, and things like that. But the key here is the moderate piece, because what you want to do is try to increase your heart rate so you get your heart rate pumping up enough to actually help you with the metabolic needs that you have. And 150 minutes per week. Now, you figure out how you want to, in a 7-day span of time, split that 150 minutes up. For some of us, an hour of activity or 30 minutes of activity a day for a few 5 days a week, that will be suffice. Some of us may want to do some more than that, but at least 150 minutes per week of of moderate intensity. And if you're actually hitting it really hard and it's more vigorous, then you can actually cut that 150 in half to 75 minutes per week. Again, if it is really vigorous aerobic activity. Number 2, as far as how much physical activity do you need, anything where you are moving is better than you sitting, okay? So what does that look like? Well, for people who may say, well, I've got perhaps a physical challenge or I can't do certain things. If you are able to get up and cook dinner, if you are cleaning your home, if you are driving, if you're walking to the mailbox, I actually have the Y, which is what I belong to, and it's in my neighborhood. Now, during the spring and summertime, I will actually walk to the Y. It takes me 17 minutes to get there. And that is not a brisk walk. I'm just walking and usually talking at the same time. And it takes 17 minutes. Well, that's 17 of my 150 hours. And obviously, if I'm walking there, chances are I got to walk back home. And that's 17 minutes. I have a girlfriend of mine, Jackie. She's on the line. We walk during the summertime and we'll walk around in the neighborhood. And we're usually putting in at least an hour and a half of time just walking around. Well, an hour and a half, you got to think is, what is that, 90 minutes. So that's 90 minutes in one day of my 150 that I need to get over a week. So I've already got more than half of those hours. So we don't have to go out there and buy the, what is it, $3,000-$4,000 Peloton or anything like that. There is so much that you can do today, this evening, that really costs you no money except for your time. And so things, like I said, our daily chores, I keep a, what do you call this? My Fitbit watch. But I keep my Fitbit watch on me all the time, even when I'm at sleep, because I am interested to see the quality of sleep I got during the night, because I can measure that and see how well, did I wake up tired, or did I really feel pretty rested when I got up? But it also allows me to track my steps. And that is really what I'm looking at, is how many steps have I taken? Because I set my goals up high and I try to hit 10,000 steps a day. As Darlene mentioned, I am a nurse. I am in an ICU. So I don't usually have too many difficult days where I don't get my steps in. And sometimes I do have to force myself to get out of my office and go out there and do a bunch of laps around the unit. But I'm also out there talking with my team. So I don't even really realize that I'm doing all those steps. So again, most of us are able to get that kind of exercise in every day without a great deal of effort. The other piece to this, you heard me say 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity. So let's talk a little bit more about the intensity. So moderate intensity versus vigorous intensity, and you're going to need to kind of gauge that for yourself to a certain degree. Now, and what I should have done is preface all of this discussion by saying, always check with your PCP, check with your primary caregiver to see what you're able to tolerate safely in any level of activity. What's best for you, because what's best for you may be different for someone else. But getting back to moderate activity. So what you really want to get out of your activity is you want your heart to beat a little faster, okay? I'm not saying an overload, okay, like it's going to burst, but just to beat a little faster so that your breathing can also be a little harder than normal, and you really can pump up your metabolism. As you start to get more used to some of the exercise that you're doing, and you will find if you start to walk a little bit and start out at 15 minutes, you will gradually work your way up to 30 minutes, and you will not feel over time that has been a strenuous level for you, because you've built your way up to that. And increasing your activity over time, as well as the intensity of your activity, really will get you to more benefits. In moderate activity, you are also encouraged to add muscle strengthening exercises to that, like some type of weight training or resistance training. When I go to the gym, or many times I don't get to the gym, especially in the wintertime, I do exercises at home. So again, on the internet, I can't tell you the number of programs that you will find. They are all free. You can go to stations like YouTube. You can go on the internet. You can find all kinds of things. I don't pay for any of those types of exercises. I used to get DVDs and Shaun T and PX90 and all of that, which is all great. And I play them over and over and over again. But then I like to mix my exercises up a little bit. So I go and I just look on internet. The thing I'm hooked on now for the last week is I used to enjoy dancing many, many years ago when I was a lot younger. And I used to enjoy doing the step exercises. And so I've gotten hooked on to hip hop stepping. And I got to watch myself because I don't want to break my leg or anything else. But I have enjoyed going back and doing some step exercising to really burn some muscle. And some of these exercises are about 3 minutes long. And you think, oh, wow, 3 minutes isn't anything. Well, I've already started off moderately, and I'm trying to crank it up a little bit more. So it is a bit of a challenge, but I'm hanging in there because I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm really pushing myself. And I enjoy doing the step exercises. So I've incorporated that, again, just to mix it up a little bit because I just wanted to add a little bit more variety. You may have seen on TV, there's an advertisement for a I think it's a Gobi, where you just sit down and you cycle in place, and the cycle is just a wheel that's on the floor, and you just pedal it. Again, that is exercise. And for some people, they may need to be a little bit more stationary. You've heard of stationary bikes. That is exercise. So there are just so many different things that you can do to help you with that. And then I don't know if in your area they have at certain gyms, they have something called silver sneakers. And I actually looked up this for my mom, but it's a way to, again, for the older adult to engage in activities. And again, you go at your own pace. And you can do a lot of different things. Sometimes it involves some water aerobics, but if the water's not your thing, sometimes it's just walking in the wall. Sometimes it's doing some other light activities at the gym. But really what is important is you keep moving. You must keep moving. And that is really the key. So I want to leave you with that. And just please just continue to stay faithful, as Darlene has talked about already, and continue to just know that God is pushing you and pulling us in that direction. What is she saying?
I'm saying yes.
And there's just so many different ways for you to keep moving. Again, please check with your PCP on the safety of those movements, but please keep it going. Thank you guys so very much for your time. Woo!
Thank you so much, Dr. Robertson. Yes, my colleague who went on and completed her PhD, and my other colleague, Neva White. You see, she blackmailed us with that picture that goes back way, way, way back. Audrey, you're going to have to send me a copy of that picture. But it is so true. Everything she said about embracing that healthy lifestyle. Okay, we can't just look at the food we're eating. We also have to exercise. We're exercising our heart when we're exercising our muscles. And when we exercise our heart, we are minimizing our risk of heart disease, which is what Dr. White spoke with us about. So moderate activity, thank you so much for explaining that really carefully to us. Yes, make sure you get clearance from your doctor. Don't go out there and just start running and getting your heart rate up too high, right? I remember back in school, I believe it was 220 minus your age. So the older you get, the lower the number is for moderate activity. So if you take 220, anybody on this call, subtract your age, and then you want to multiply that by, I believe it's about 70 or 80%. The 220 minus your age is maximum. You never want to go over that number. So please remember that when you start your activity, even if you do get clearance, okay, you hear about those stories about people that haven't exercised and they run to the gym and they think they're going to jump on the treadmill and then they have an MI. You know why? Because they already have heart disease, like Dr. White spoke with us about. Most of us are walking around with it.